We're just going to have a couple of questions now for you. A bit of funny ones. You can see what the priorities are, but some of the questions that we got in during your talk, we're going to save for the panel. So, of course, as you might have noticed, the obligatory question of the evening, if you are into Pokemon at all, what's your favorite Pokemon?
I'm basically going to reveal how deeply, deeply uncool I am when I say I basically know nothing about Pokemon at all.
Fair enough. It had to happen at some point, so that's totally fair. So we got a couple of interesting questions because I myself also noticed your setup. It was a minimal one and it was nice colors, nice fonts. So we're going to cover it like basically VS Code theme, autocomplete, extensions, people asking the same, but just more stuff. Do you have any goodies to share or something that you can put? Do you have dot files or something to point people to?
I'm planning on putting my dot files up soon because personally, because a couple of people have asked and I have never got around to it yet. I'm using Dank Mono as a font, which is, I love it. It's really, really nice, I feel. I've gone through several, so I've used TheraCode, iScript. I've used JetBrains Mono, which I think is a pretty cool font as well. But at the moment, Dank Mono is doing it for me. My VS Code theme is Pale Knight Operator, made by a really talented developer, and I absolutely love it. I use it on my my personal website as well. I just clearly can't get enough of the theme. At some point, presumably, I will switch to something else. There's a lovely synthwave theme when I'm really feeling the need to go retro. That's definitely worth checking out. The autocomplete is GitHub Copilot, which is great when you give it a bit of guidance. I think Nuxt 3 is probably too new at the moment. It doesn't provide the most helpful suggestions yet, but it's great with things like writing simple utility functions. So
cool.
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
So for example, if you name your function escape regular expression, it will generate the code for you to escape your regular expression.
Cool, nice. I think we're going to skip ahead. As you might have seen before you entered, we are a bit behind. So we're trying a little bit to catch up. But again, some of the questions that were posed, we will cover in the Nuxt Team session. So I don't think we need much of an introduction. Daniel, thanks for the Mighty Bytes. Thanks for your talk. And thanks for being here with us. So we'll welcome Pooya Parsa to the stage with us. One moment. Hey, Pooya. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Hey,
I have to say, it was an amazing demo by Daniel. I was really enjoying it.
Absolutely. Cool. We have Sebastian Chopin, who unfortunately on short notice was not able to join us tonight because of daddy duties. He had to take care of his baby. So I'm sure we can get questions still covered and answered, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's have a look at what we have here. So I think some of these are foreseeable, right, in the current state we are in. So we'll start off with a fresh one. Is there any progress on migration path for Nuxt version 2 to 3? And the comment here is the page about that hasn't changed for a while. Any takers?
So the progress. So I think it's worth saying that the page may not have updated, but the actual progress is really quite real. So Nuxt Bridge, which is what we are recommending people move to in the interim before Nuxt 3 is stable, has reached feature parity. So it has a lot of the features we have in Nuxt 3 we've brought back to Nuxt 2. So auto imports, composables. A lot of the type support that you've seen in the talk, the auto generation of the Nitro roots, that all works in Nuxt Bridge, can work in Nuxt 2. And our hope is that will make it easier for people to transition to Nuxt 3. The Nuxt 3 roadmap, which I guess is probably something you want to talk about, is we're on Rails. We're moving forward on that. And we want, when we have a release candidate for Nuxt 3, for people to be able to move straight to it. And Bridge hopefully helps them with that.
Cool. How do I deploy thousands of pages with Nuxt 2? What can developers do if the server can handle the numbers of concurrent requests for the generated dynamic routes?
So, sorry, Pooya, I don't want to. I would say,
please go on.
I'm sure Pooya will have something to add. I would say that there are a couple of ways Nuxt enables this. So one is the payload strategy. So rather than fetch thousands of the same thing thousands of times, you extract your common network requests to one place. And then you can actually use that single source of truth throughout your app. That works really well with things like CMSs or e-commerce sites. And I recommend that you do that. We have a whole tutorial on the Nuxt.js documentation on how to do that with a payload. The second thing is if it's all unique data that you're fetching, one per page, but your server is struggling with concurrent connections, you can adjust both concurrency and add a delay in your generate settings. So there are lots of options that should help with this particular question.
For sure.
Thanks.
I would personally add a suggestion to this. If you have like more than 100 pages, usually there is another solution. Instead of peer generating every page, we could depend on the HCDN caching. Even though if we don't use generating, we could cache pages for a longer term and using stable validating strategies. But if we can also migrate to the bridge layer and using the Nitro power, we could peer-render them using a hybrid method. So instead of peer-generating them all of them during the deployment, we could just generate them on demand when it's needed.
Cool. Thanks. Another shorter question, but let's see if it's easy to answer. Will Nuxt include ISR, incremental static regeneration?
Nice. Actually, it was the previous answer I was making.
No,
so yes, in Nuxt 3, yes, this is something that we are going to have instead of having like a generate function that just peer generates every possible route, like thousands of pages. There is a technology called hybrid rendering. So some of the pages are peer generated, the pages that we are sure that are common enough upon deployment, but some pages that are not that common to be hit, they are incrementally rendered on the demand and cached on the CDN layer using Nitro. So this is, yes, for sure, definitely something in the roadmap.
Okay. Well, on the topic of technical questions, another one for you. Why was router middleware eliminated from Nuxt 3? Will Nuxt 3 have anything similar for implementing route guards and other redirects?
I love a straight line like this one. We just released router middleware a day or two ago for Nuxt 3. So have a look. It's more capable than it was in Nuxt 2. So you even get things like type support for it. So when you're entering your middleware option in your page route, it will auto suggest the actual middleware you have in your project. We have some cool new helpers too. Pooya is responsible for those. So navigate to and abort navigation, which you can use in middleware, but but navigate to, for example, works elsewhere in your application. So there are lots of interesting things. It's definitely a work in progress right now. So you can try it out, but we are expecting to improve it over the next few days. Interesting to see what's coming now.
Cool. So on this topic of features, we got a question from the chat today. When can we expect Nuxt 3 full static site generation?
I would say the popular answer very soon. Yet, if you want to try it today, you could try using Nuxt Bridge. It brings Nitro integration, but also the benefits of the Nuxt 2 for full static generation. But full static generation and more especially hybrid rendering is coming very soon to Nuxt 3 using Nitro back.
Cool.
Pooya, I feel you basically answered the same question several times now. But I mean, it really is exciting. It was only just a day or so ago that NitroPack was publicly released. The source code is available. Or is it available? Is it just about to be
not
available?
Yet. Not
right.
yet. It's
Sorry,
there
I
for
don't want to reveal anything too soon, but keep refreshing that button on the Nuxt.js repository because it's there's some really cool things coming.
Cool. Yeah, sorry if some of these, like, yes, obviously, as you can see, I have never really developed with Nuxt, though I've done used Vue over many years. So if some of these are already covered, please let me know. We can also skip ahead. But on a different topic, I'm sure I can't mix this one up. We got a question on how do you want to improve communication with the community? So totally different, non-technical topic.
So so I guess we always want to improve communication. It's also something that we're all doing together. So it's not like the core team is over here doing development. I think Nuxt, almost more than any other project, is really an ecosystem project. So looking at the Nuxt modules, for example, which are produced by lots and lots of people from lots of companies and backgrounds, Nuxt wouldn't be anywhere where it is now without lots of people contributing. In terms of improving communication, in terms of where we're going, I think we're if you think there's a problem or there's something you're not hearing, please feel free to reach out to me or Pooya. We'd love to hear from you. We would love to do better at this. But I guess also events like this help because we can answer people's questions, communicate where we're going, timelines, what the plan is. I think one of the big milestones at the moment in terms of where we're going has just in the last couple of hours been unlocked. So we have a new module builder for Nuxt 3 and guidance for module authors as well. And one of the big questions people would have had about Nuxt 3 progress and timing is about modules and migrating some of the amazing work that people have done in the ecosystem. Whereas now the gates are open, floodgates are open, migrate away. We have first-class module builder support and documentation.
That's great to hear, and I think that's, or I know that's a really great answer to the question, because it sounds like it's already covered quite well, but you know you can improve, and you've highlighted some areas where that is already underway. Is there a plan to release a stable authentication plugin for Nuxt? Was a question we received.
Yeah, probably to answer this question is I'm again the person to blame. Over the time, for like 4 years ago, authentication module was one of the first things that we integrated as a Nuxt module, but it was almost never stable because Nuxt wasn't ready for supporting some strategies like HTTP only login. We needed backend integration, and without Nitro and until Nitro, it wasn't even possible to imagine. So our next plan is that after we now have a stable tooling for creating Nuxt modules, is to create a new rewrite of us module. And thanks to the Vue.js Composables, we could make something very much clear and testable to be usable for Nuxt users. So it's definitely in the plan, and we are truly sorry that it didn't happen earlier. But it needed its own pre-requirements, which are already met in Nuxt 3 to start working on the authentication module.
Cool. I think it's a question I've heard actually mentioned before as well, so you probably have a clear answer prepared. But even in a Vue community like this, the question is, why choose Nuxt instead of Next?
Well, I remember a popular, actually, I really love that answer that Sebastian mentioned it in one of the other conferences. He said, it's because we love Vue.js. So if you like Vue.js, you have to use Nuxt. But probably there are thousands of more reasons. Like we share lots of thoughts and the philosophy, how to remove the boilerplate, how to make it easier to developers to just focus on their code, enjoy developing their solutions. I would say Nuxt is more probably hackable solution compared to the Next.js, other than having the Vue.js integration. Like you could almost hook into any part of the Nuxt and add whatever you like. You could change the behavior of them. While Next.js is more robust, it's stable, but your hands are more tight probably to make more customizations to it. But well, each of them has their own benefits.
Cool. We have a technical question again. Nuxt recently replaced Babel with their own compiler made with Rust. Any plans to give Nuxt its own dedicated compiler that is optimized for speed? So segueing in from Next versus Nuxt, any comments there?
So I think unless Pooya, there's a secret compiler going on in the background that I don't know about. I think I'm safe to say we're not planning to write our own compiler. I can't imagine anything that would be. Can you imagine the time that would take? That would be amazing. But stepping aside from the question about whether we're going to write our own compiler, I will say it's been great to see the innovation in this space more broadly in the ecosystem, and it's innovation that benefits everyone. So we have experimented with using everything from Sucrase to SWC. We're using ESBuilds. These are things that Nuxt can benefit from, as well as other projects. So it's not something that we need to develop in order for everybody to benefit from it.
Sure, that makes sense.
Certainly.
Then when will we have a stable release, not beta, for Nuxt 3?
So release candidate date is Q1 this year. So that's pretty soon. And the aim of a release candidate is not that there are no changes, but that breaking changes either don't happen or are very, very clearly signposted, and certainly are few and far between. I think that the point at which I would start suggesting people use Nuxt 3, even in production, would be release candidate stage. Pooya might be more optimistic even than that, though.
Yes, certainly. Actually, the reason that we are waiting more is that using edge releases, we could iterate faster to finalize the API for Nuxt 3, and it could be more futuristic for a few years. It could have less breaking changes. But really looking forward to start release candidate releases. They are having a proper changelog, and we could be at least much better communicated with the ecosystem about drafts that we are making, about the decision changes we are making, and finalizing for the final release. So it pretty much depends on the feedback, and as much as more enterprise projects are migrating directly to the Nuxt 3, we could be more confident to just flag it as a stable release.
Cool. Thanks. On the topic of web components and Nuxt, we have a question specifically to situation where someone says, my company already uses Vue extensively for delivering customized web components. How can I convince them, I guess his team or his company, to use Nuxt.js as part of our standard project scaffolding?
So I think there would be a couple of things to say there. Maybe one thing would be a lot of the benefit you get from a project like Nuxt is baked in best practice. So if you have lots of different projects you're maintaining, then I think it's hugely beneficial to be able to extract behavior. So for example, I'm sure those projects come with plenty of customized features. So create a single Nuxt module that delivers your company's best practices, benefits from Nuxt's built-in best practices, and then you get that effectively for free. You need 2 files and your module in the package JSON. That's it. That's an incredibly simple, very reproducible pattern if you're wanting to move quickly. And it means when you roll out an improvement, say in that core module, it can get auto updated in all of your projects. Works really well. I think it doesn't address the web component specific question. I don't know if there's something behind that, but I think certainly the sort of the combination of best practice and extensibility and being in control of that makes a huge difference from a enterprise point of view, speaking personally. But feel free to reach out if there's any question. It would be more helpful to answer.
Yeah, sure. A little bit of a different question that came in tonight. What are differences between composables and components? Is this a composition API thing? I think it came up during your talk, Daniel, so it might also be referring to something specifically you did.
So a component is a Vue single file component. That's how I was using it. So in the components directory would be molecules, atoms, whatever you want to call them, bits of your application that would be put into your rendered tree. They'd appear in the DOM. A composable is a helper function. Often they're called composables because they're meant to be called in setup or in a script setup block. Often because they sort of set up your component. So they do whatever calls there are. They obtain the state, the variables that's going to persist across that component's lifecycle. They might define functions, that kind of thing. And they're very good ways of extracting logic so that things can stay nice and clean.
Cool. I think we'll end with one last question for today. Before I do that, I'm gonna ask also Pooya, because he missed out on the fun yesterday and I have no idea. What's your favorite Pokemon, Pooya, if you have any?
I don't know if you saw my t-shirt. It was Pikachu, but
Nice. How can I miss that?
yeah.
Nice. And today you have Minecraft. So definitely good. But is your favorite Pikachu then?
Yes. What about Daniel?
You missed my great shame, Pooya. The fact that I know so little about Pokemon that I could probably only name 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, good. So one last question of the day, which is a bit ties into your talk from yesterday, Pooya, and we can round it off there. Yesterday you talked about Nitro fully agnostic, or making Nitro fully agnostic. Are there any big ideas like this on the roadmap, new directions you want to explore?
Yes, certainly. I think something probably Daniel is thinking also the same is WebAssembly support. Right now it's under an experimental flag, but there are tons of ideas that we could explore just for this WebAssembly support. Like we could support any native language like C++, even PHP to be compiled right inside the Nitro or Nuxt application. But also looking forward for more deployment targets, especially because with that we could make Nitro even available for different kind of users, and probably discovering how we could collaborate with other framework others, even probably Next.js, that we could have a unified build system that everyone can leverage, everyone can contribute to, and deploy to different platforms. But I'm pretty sure Daniel also has some interesting ideas in the future.
Leaving it at that. Sneaking in one last one. When is Docus available?
Docus isn't something that Pooya and I are specifically working on, but I know the team who are working on Docus at Nuxt Labs have something that's pretty cool, and I would be watching this space. So
stay tuned, in other words. So thanks again. Thanks, Daniel, for the talk. Thanks, Pooya, for the talk yesterday. And thank you both for staying around for the panel. It was really interesting to get your answers on a multitude of questions. So thanks a lot. Have a nice rest of the day.
It was a pleasure. And thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
It's been a pleasure. Bye.